If there's one name that can't be left out when talking about hip-hop, it's Eminem. The man went from a bullied kid in Detroit's rough neighborhoods to one of the most legendary artists the world has ever seen. Poverty, abuse, addiction, scandal, you name it, he's lived through it. And somehow, instead of breaking, he rose to the very top. Eminem didn't just shift hip-hop's landscape. He tore down barriers and proved that talent doesn't come in one color, and persistence can silence any doubt. But behind the fame, the records, and the spotlight is a story filled with heartbreak, controversy, and scars that never quite healed. How did a boy with nothing, no money, no stability, not even a father, become a global icon? And what's his life really like today? Let's step into the untold story of Marshall Bruce Mathers III, the man the world knows as Eminem. Long before he was crowned one of hip-hop's greatest, Eminem was just Marshall, a skinny kid growing up in the shadows of violence and poverty. Born on October 17, 1972, in St. Joseph, Missouri, he barely knew his father, Marshall Bruce Mathers Jr., who walked out when his son was still a baby. That left his mother, Debbie Mathers, to raise him, but instead of love and safety, home became the source of many of his deepest wounds. Constantly moving from one broken-down neighborhood to another in Detroit, Marshall never really had a place to belong. Life was unstable, unsafe, and lonely. And being a poor white kid in a mostly black community wasn't just difficult, it was survival of the fittest. He was picked on, beaten up, and ridiculed for being different. One beating from classmates was so brutal it left him in a coma. At school, he never stood out academically. He didn't care for books or lectures. The only things that lit him up were sketching and stringing words together. Not because he was lazy, but because in a world where he was constantly told he didn't matter, it was hard to see the point. Eventually, after years of suspensions and failures, he dropped out in 9th grade, not out of lack of intelligence, but out of sheer frustration. While others dismissed him, rap became his escape. At just 14, he started scribbling rhymes in old notebooks, sharpening his wordplay and experimenting with rhythm. Every verse was more than practice, it was survival. Rap became his way of screaming, "I'm still here. I won't disappear." But breaking into hip-hop was a war of its own. The industry was dominated by black rappers, and a broke white kid like Eminem was treated as a joke. He was laughed out of rooms, called an outsider. But instead of quitting, he doubled down. He spent sleepless nights rewriting verses, tightening his punchlines, building rhymes so sharp that even those who mocked him couldn't deny his skill. He didn't chase rap for fame, it was his lifeline. Without it, the chaos of his world would have swallowed him whole.
Just as his talent began to earn respect in Detroit's underground scene, his personal life spiraled. His relationship with Kimberly Scott, his high school sweetheart and the mother of his daughter Hailie, was a storm of love and destruction, marked by constant fights, breakups, and reconciliations. At the same time, his toxic relationship with his mother was reaching the point of no return. His lyrics, raw and unfiltered, often painted her as the villain of his childhood. She even sued him for defamation, but lawsuits couldn't erase years of pain. Despite the turmoil, Eminem pushed forward. Fueled by his rage, his wounds, and his relentless drive, he began a climb that would crown him as one of the most influential and controversial artists of all time. Eminem's rise to fame didn't start with sold-out arenas or million-dollar contracts. It started with failure. Back in the mid-90s, when hip-hop was still a world dominated almost entirely by black artists, the idea of a white rapper breaking through was nearly unthinkable. In 1996, Marshall Mathers dropped his debut album, Infinite. He poured his heart into it, but the album flopped. Sales were non-existent, critics shrugged, and worse, people said he sounded like a cheap knockoff of Nas and AZ. For a moment, it crushed him. Eminem thought about walking away from music forever. But instead of quitting, he reimagined himself. Out of the ashes of failure, Slim Shady was born. Slim Shady wasn't polite, he wasn't safe, and he wasn't trying to be. He was the embodiment of Eminem's anger, trauma, and darkest thoughts, delivered with lightning-fast rhymes and razor-sharp wordplay. The underground started to take notice. And then came the turning point. In 1997, Eminem entered the Rap Olympics, a freestyle battle tournament where hungry rappers fought for respect. He didn't win the gold that night, but what he left behind changed his life. A demo tape. By sheer luck, that tape landed in the hands of Dr. Dre. When Dre pressed play, he was floored. A white rapper with flawless flow, punchlines as sharp as a knife, and a fearless imagination? Dre didn't hesitate. He signed Eminem to Aftermath Entertainment. And the rest, as they say, is history. In 1999, the Slim Shady LP hit the world like a storm. My Name Is became an anthem, catchy, outrageous, and impossible to ignore. Eminem wasn't just another rapper. He was a cultural shockwave. Hilarious, venomous, offensive, brilliant, sometimes all in a single verse. But that was only the beginning. The year 2000 brought the Marshall Mathers LP, an album that shattered every expectation. With tracks like The Real Slim Shady, The Way I Am, and the chilling masterpiece Stan, Eminem proved he wasn't just a rapper. He was a storyteller, an artist of a different caliber. 2 years later, the Eminem Show cemented his dominance, with hits like Without Me, Cleaning Out My Closet, and Sing for the Moment. But fame came with a price. The pressure, the demons from his past, and the endless grind of the industry drove him deep into addiction. Painkillers nearly took his life, and in 2007, after a near-fatal overdose, the world almost lost him. But if there's one thing Eminem has proven over and over, it's that he doesn't stay down. He came back swinging with Relapse in 2009 and then Recovery in 2010, which gave us Not Afraid and the massive hit Love the Way You Lie. More albums followed: the Marshall Mathers LP 2, 2013, Kamikaze, 2018, Music to Be Murdered By, 2020, each one proof that Eminem still had fire left in his pen. Fast forward more than 22 years, and his numbers speak louder than words. Over 220 million records sold, 15 Grammys, 10 straight #1 albums, and an Academy Award. Eminem didn't just climb the mountain, he built a throne on top of it. In 1999, alongside his manager Paul Rosenberg, he launched Shady Records, signing raw talent that other labels overlooked. With Dr. Dre backing them, the label turned 50 Cent's Get Rich or Die Tryin' into a worldwide phenomenon, selling over 12 million copies. Soon, artists like D12, O.B. Trice, Yellow Wolf, and Slaughterhouse helped make Shady Records a powerhouse in hip-hop, pulling in millions in revenue. And then, there's business. Remember that famous line from Lose Yourself? Mom's spaghetti. It became a meme, a cultural punchline, and then, thanks to Eminem's hustle, a real restaurant. In 2021, Mom's Spaghetti opened in Detroit, and fans lined up around the block just to get a plate. The brand grew, expanding to Los Angeles, and proving that Eminem knows how to turn a lyric into a legacy. He didn't stop there. In 2021, he stepped into the NFT world, dropping his ShadyCon collection, which raked in nearly $2 million in a single day. He even bought a Bored Ape NFT customized to look like him, dropping almost $500,000 to secure his place in the digital frontier. From street battles in Detroit to Grammy stages, from addiction's edge to global stardom, from Lose Yourself to Mom's Spaghetti, Eminem has built more than a career. He's built a legacy. He's not just a rapper. He's not just a businessman. Eminem is a symbol, a reminder that no matter where you start, no matter how many times you fall, you can rise, fight back, and change the world. One of Eminem's most talked about deals came in 2011, when he starred in Chrysler's 2-minute Super Bowl commercial imported from Detroit. The ad went viral, racking up over 26 million views on YouTube and giving Chrysler a massive sales boost. From there, the partnerships kept coming. Beats by Dre, Nike, Brisk Iced Tea, even Eminem's Candy. Each collaboration added millions to his already growing empire. So how rich is Eminem? According to multiple reports, he brings in about $20 million a year, but when he drops a new album or goes on tour, that number shoots up to anywhere between $30 and $50 million. With over 220 million records sold-out tours that generate hundreds of millions, and one of the largest fan bases online, Eminem is among the highest-earning musicians in the world. His YouTube channel alone has more than 53 million subscribers, and on Spotify, he consistently ranks among the most streamed artists. On top of music, he makes money through shady records, his real estate portfolio, digital investments like NFTs, and, of course, his own brand ventures. After taxes and expenses, his net worth sits at an estimated $350 million, putting him right up there with hip-hop's wealthiest names, behind only moguls like Jay-Z, Dr. Dre, Diddy, and Kanye West. Unlike many rappers who love to flaunt mansions in Beverly Hills or Miami, Eminem has always kept his lifestyle grounded. He doesn't throw lavish parties, he doesn't showcase gold-plated studios, and he doesn't post fleets of luxury cars on social media. Instead, he stays tied to his roots, Detroit.
Since the early 2000s, his primary residence has been in Clinton Township, Michigan. It's an 8,900 square foot mansion he bought in 2000 for $1.48 million. Surrounded by trees and built with privacy in mind, the home reportedly features multiple living rooms, a private library, a gym, and his own in-house studio, his safe space to create without distraction. But Eminem hasn't always lived low-key. In 2003, he purchased a sprawling 17,500 square foot estate in Rochester Hills, Michigan for $4.75 million. With 6 bedrooms, 10 bathrooms, a gourmet kitchen, a gym, a billiards room, and entertainment spaces, it was every bit the rapper's dream mansion. Outside, the property boasted a pool, a tennis court, and even a separate guest house. But by 2017, he sold it for just $1.9 million. The house was simply more space than he needed. He even tested out life in Hollywood, buying a sleek 4,300 square foot property in the Hollywood Hills in 2002. The house came with floor-to-ceiling glass walls, an infinity pool, and panoramic views of Los Angeles. But the glitz wasn't for him. He sold it in 2006. Today, it's valued at nearly $5 million. For Eminem, home isn't about showing off wealth. It's about having a place to recharge. His music, not his address, defines his status. When it comes to cars, Eminem is a quiet collector. He doesn't parade them online or use them as props in music videos. But behind closed doors, his garage tells a different story. He owns some of the world's most coveted rides: a Lamborghini Aventador worth $560,000, a Porsche 911 GT2 RS, several Ferraris, including a 599 GTO and F430 Scuderia, and even a Ford GT, a nod to American engineering. His taste leans toward performance, rarity, and design, not hype. Jewelry? Again, low-key. He isn't dripping in diamonds like many of his peers. Instead, he owns select pieces that matter to him, like a Rolex Day-Date and an Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, alongside a collection of affordable G-Shock watches that reflect his down-to-earth style. What may surprise many is his passion for comic books. One of his prized possessions is Amazing Fantasy number 15, the legendary issue that introduced Spider-Man, now valued at nearly $500,000. For all his controversy, one thing has always been clear: Eminem is a devoted father. His daughter, Hailie Jade Scott, born to him and Kim Scott, has been at the heart of many of his most emotional songs, from Mockingbird to When I'm Gone. Unlike the lifestyle many expected her to follow, Hailie chose academics, graduating in psychology from Michigan State before becoming a successful influencer. Eminem also opened his home to 2 adopted daughters, Elena Marie Mathers, the child of Kim's late twin sister, and Stevie Lane, Kim's child from another relationship. Though his life has been public and messy, he's always kept his kids out of the spotlight, protecting them from the chaos that fame brings. His relationship with Kim, however, has been one of the most tumultuous stories in hip-hop. They married in 1999, divorced in 2001, remarried in 2006, and divorced again that same year. Their love story, equal parts passion and pain, played out through some of Eminem's rawest tracks, including Kim and 97 Bunny and Clyde. Of course, Eminem's career has never been free of scandal. His brutally honest, often offensive lyrics have sparked countless feuds with his mother, with fellow artists, and even with pop icons like Mariah Carey. His 2002 hit, Cleaning Out My Closet, painted his mom as abusive and greedy, leading her to sue him for $10 million. The case was settled for just $1,600, but the damage to their relationship lasted years.
By 2013, though, Eminem showed a softer side in his song Headlights, where he expressed regret and asked for forgiveness. From lawsuits to diss tracks to public controversies, Eminem has always been unfiltered. And that's exactly what made him iconic, an artist who never bit his tongue, no matter how uncomfortable it made the world. Despite everything, one thing about Eminem still keeps people guessing: where he truly stands with the people he's feuded with. If there's one thing Marshall Mathers is known for besides his music, it's controversy. No rapper in history has stacked up as many battles, beefs, and grudges as him. From pop stars to rappers, actors to politicians, even presidents, Eminem has never been afraid to call someone out. One of his most notorious wars came against Ja Rule. The beef originally started with 50 Cent, but when Ja Rule dragged Eminem's daughter into it, that line was crossed. Eminem responded with diss tracks like Do Re Mi and Hail Mary, and the fallout nearly erased Ja Rule's credibility in rap. Then came Machine Gun Kelly. What began with a single tweet about Eminem's daughter Hailie turned into one of the most heated feuds in modern hip-hop. Eminem struck back with Kill Shot, a brutal takedown that left MGK's rap career wobbling and pushed him straight into the pop-punk lane instead. Nick Cannon, Mariah Carey's ex-husband, also tried to throw punches through music, but his diss tracks barely made a dent. Eminem brushed him off with a kind of ease only he could deliver. And then there was Benzino, co-founder of The Source. When Benzino tried to drag M down with low ratings and weak disses, Eminem responded with The Sauce and Nail in the Coffin. Those tracks didn't just sting, they practically ended Benzino's relevance in rap. And this is just scratching the surface. Over the years, Eminem has taken shots at Mariah Carey, Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, Moby, Will Smith, Donald Trump, and even the US government itself. The Mariah Carey feud, though, stands out as one of music's longest-running soap operas. Eminem claimed they dated, Mariah swore they didn't. M fired back through tracks like Superman and Bagpipes from Baghdad. Mariah answered with Obsessed, even dressing up like a parody version of Eminem in the video. But M wasn't done. He dropped the warning, complete with what he said were real voicemails between them, threatening to spill even more. That back and forth dragged on for years, cementing itself as one of the most infamous pop versus rap battles ever. Of course, not all of his battles were public. Some of the hardest were private, the ones he fought against himself. At the peak of his fame, Eminem spiraled into heavy drug abuse, painkillers, alcohol, pills. In 2007, it almost killed him. He overdosed on methadone, the same substance linked to Michael Jackson's death. Doctors weren't sure he'd survive. But he did. And when he came back clean. Rehab, discipline, and music helped him claw his way out. Today, Eminem has been sober for over 14 years, a victory that's inspired countless other artists struggling with the same demons. So yes, Eminem's career has been messy, controversial, and often explosive, but that's also why he's unforgettable. Love him or hate him, you can't deny his impact. His honesty is raw, his battles are legendary, and his refusal to bow to critics is exactly what makes him one of the most influential rappers in history. What about you? Do you think Eminem's feuds and controversies defined him, or did his recovery and resilience shape the legend more? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and share if you enjoyed this deep dive.